No one expected it. Queen Camilla, once proudly crowned alongside King Charles, has now been shut out of the palace in complete disgrace. She was caught in a secret affair with a former royal aide and linked to the theft of precious heirlooms that belonged to Princess Diana. Her double betrayal tore the monarchy apart from the inside. Devastated and furious, King Charles acted without hesitation. What he once stood by and risked everything for had crossed an unforgivable line, both personally and royally. What started as rumors ended in exile. The truth is finally out. Camilla didn't just betray Charles, she betrayed the crown itself. And this time there's no way back through those palace doors. The damning evidence came in the form of high-resolution surveillance photos showing Camilla intimately embracing Edward Langley, a long-time royal staffer with a close personal history with her. What was explained as a solo wellness retreat was, in reality, far more compromising. Late-night meetings, wine glasses in hand, secret embraces behind closed windows. At first, Charles couldn't believe it, but palace security confirmed the photos were genuine, matching Langley's ID and movements precisely. This wasn't gossip, it was undeniable betrayal. But the affair was only the beginning. Charles launched an investigation that revealed troubling overlaps with the royal vault's entry logs. Camilla had accessed the heirloom vault under the pretense of research. That same week, she left the palace carrying a locked trunk that wasn't recorded in any artifact checkout. The signs were glaring. Charles ordered the palace security to track the trunk and follow Langley. What unfolded exposed not just a secret affair, but a covert operation to steal from the royal legacy, all under the cover of love and loyalty. Camilla's double life wasn't just about romance, it was a calculated theft hidden in plain sight. The internal report confirmed she had used a decommissioned override code to bypass security protocols, a code that should have been inactive for years. This was betrayal on multiple levels, personal, royal, and historic. The queen consort had become a traitor to the crown. On that very day, Diana's caterpillar earrings and the Spencer choker, valued together at £650,000, were reported missing in the latest archive inventory. Security footage from Clarence House's loading area showed Camilla's car parked there for 45 minutes as a trunk was loaded, though no one knew what was inside. The trunk was then taken to her private suite near Windsor, the same place where Edward Langley stayed during her supposed wellness retreat. That trunk never made its way back. Staff began to grow suspicious, but kept quiet until King Charles launched his investigation. Private messages recovered from Camilla's encrypted tablet revealed emotionally charged exchanges with Edward Langley, including lines like, "You always understood me better than he ever did," and, "This time, it's ours." It became clear she hadn't just betrayed Charles's trust. She was quietly stripping pieces of royal history for a man with no title and no claim to the legacy. This was far beyond a scandal based on rumors. The facts were laid out in dates, access codes, and missing heirlooms. The crown was compromised, not by an outsider, but by the very woman who once vowed to protect it. Charles now faced the toughest challenge of his reign, balancing personal heartbreak with his duty to the nation. Armed with overwhelming evidence, Charles prepared for a confrontation that would change everything. One evening, he summoned Camilla to a private room in Buckingham Palace. The doors were locked, staff dismissed. It was no royal chat, but an interrogation. With time-stamped photos, security logs, and encrypted messages from palace intelligence, Charles laid it all out calmly. He didn't yell or accuse. Instead, he quietly asked, "Who is he?" But the question wasn't just about the man in the photos. It was about what had been taken. Camilla, caught off guard, started with gentle denials. "He's an old friend," she said. "It was just a wellness retreat. You were busy with Parliament." But her story had too many holes. Charles then opened another folder. Vault access logs showing that Camilla had used a special code to enter the private heirloom collection. She left early in the morning and returned hours later with that same unregistered trunk, which had never been seen again. "This isn't just cheating," Charles pressed. "You used Diana's legacy as bait. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Camilla broke down in tears but couldn't explain why Diana's 1986 pearl earrings were missing from the vault or how they ended up in her daughter's possession. She insisted it was all a misunderstanding, but the damage was irreversible. Later, Charles told aides, "She didn't just betray me. She insulted my mother's memory, the woman I failed to protect." The fragile trust that had survived decades of scandal, from Diana's heartbreak to Camilla's slow acceptance, was finally shattered. Charles couldn't sleep that night. Alone in his private quarters, he stared into the fire, quietly murmuring, "Diana warned me." By morning, he had made a firm decision. Camilla's access to the vaults, the council, and all ceremonial archives would be revoked within 48 hours. This was no longer just about a secret affair. It was about the very survival of the monarchy. But Charles wasn't the only one watching. Someone else had been silently waiting for the right moment to act: Princess Anne. At a small private luncheon held to celebrate Princess Charlotte's charity milestone, only close family and trusted aides were present. Catherine arrived wearing a soft blue dress Diana had once worn. Her attention was immediately drawn to Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, seated nearby, sporting a striking pair of pearl drop earrings, 3 cascading pearls tipped with diamonds, softly shimmering in the sunlight. Catherine didn't look away. Within minutes, she had her assistant pull up the heirloom catalog from the Windsor archives. The match was unmistakable, a state gift to Princess Diana from 1986, famously worn during her London opera visit. The serial numbers and clasp design were unique and identifiable. Catherine didn't confront Laura right away. She observed carefully, calculating her next move. Then, calmly and in front of witnesses, she asked, "Where did you get those earrings?" Laura hesitated, then replied they were a gift from her mother, something meant to be passed down. Without showing emotion, Catherine handed the earrings over to the palace gemologist, already alerted due to security concerns, for verification. By early afternoon, it was confirmed. These were the original earrings, last logged in the archives in 2023, earmarked for Princess Charlotte's 18th birthday 2 decades from now. The atmosphere shifted immediately. William arrived later that evening, and Catherine whispered a single word: "Confirmed." The room fell silent. Charles, informed privately, declined to attend the luncheon but immediately called an emergency meeting with his legal advisors. William's words afterward were sharp and clear. "She tried to weave her bloodline into a legacy that's not hers. This isn't inheritance, it's infiltration." For Charles, that moment marked the breaking point. Camilla hadn't simply lied. She had attempted to rewrite royal history for her own gain. With Diana's earrings dangling from the ears of someone without a royal title, the symbolism was impossible to ignore. What followed was swift and decisive. Behind the closed doors of Clarence's house, Camilla would be stripped not only of her jewels, but also of her status, facing public disgrace in private. An emergency royal council was convened to deal with the crisis, and the fate of the monarchy hung in the balance. Only 5 people were in the room: Charles, William, Catherine, Princess Anne, and the royal constitutional advisor. The atmosphere was cold, clinical, and heavy with gravity. No press was notified, no public statement was planned. But inside that room, history was being reshaped. Charles laid out the evidence: photos, security logs, gemologist reports, and records of missing heirlooms on the table. "This is no longer a family matter," he declared. "This is a breach of Crown protocol." Anne, known for her bluntness, was furious. "She used our mother's name, our history, and our grief as leverage," she said sharply. William remained silent until prompted. When he spoke, his words were firm. My mother was erased once. We won't allow it to happen again." Catherine said nothing, her hands resting on a fresh file listing vault inventory, her quiet resolve more powerful than any outburst. Charles then issued 5 immediate orders. Camilla's access to the palace was suspended within 48 hours. Her communications team would be reassigned shortly after. All vault and archive access codes were to be changed immediately. Her royal security detail was halved. Though she would keep the title of Queen Consort, her duties were stripped away. She became a symbolic ghost in the monarchy, not formally expelled, but completely locked out. That evening, Camilla received a sealed envelope delivered by Charles's personal courier. Inside was an official directive bearing the royal seal and a handwritten note at the bottom. Trust is broken. Staff at Clarence House quietly began preparations to relocate her. Within days, she would be gone. But the public wouldn't stay in the dark for long. By the next morning, the story exploded across headlines and social media. Major newspapers led with blazing headlines: Queen Camilla's secret affair and jewel theft scandal. The story wasn't just leaked, it was detonated. Photos of Camilla with her companion from the private retreat were published alongside palace records confirming her unauthorized access to the royal vault. Then came the headline that rocked the monarchy. Legacy betrayed. Diana's jewels found in the possession of Camilla's daughter. Social media erupted instantly. Hashtags like #CheatingQueen, #Diana deserved better, and #Not my queen flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram across dozens of countries. A viral video comparing Camilla's daughter, wearing the 1986 Qatar earrings, to archival footage of Diana ignited fresh outrage. One post alone racked up millions of views within hours. For many, this wasn't just a scandal of personal betrayal. It was an assault on the nation's history and memory. Palace insiders quietly told journalists that Camilla had already been stripped of all her operational duties. Leaked emails revealed royal aides rushing to revise press statements and reassign staff at Clarence House. The BBC cut into regular programming with a live special titled "The Queen Who Went Too Far." Tabloid headlines followed with brutal honesty: legacy looted, betraying Diana twice, and Camilla's final fall. Public opinion hit a historic low. Polls showed Camilla's approval rating crashing to just 21%, the worst since she joined the royal family. Meanwhile, Catherine's popularity soared to 85%, and Princess Charlotte emerged as a powerful symbol of the protected royal legacy. For many, this was about more than removing Camilla. It was about finally defending Diana's memory. 2 decades too late, but just in time for history to set things right. As the media storm raged, King Charles prepared one last order. Camilla's exile was no longer symbolic. It was official, constitutional, and permanent. He summoned his private secretary and issued a confidential directive formally downgrading Camilla to a non-operational royal. The order revoked her ceremonial duties, event participation, vault access, and communication privileges, though she would retain the title of Queen Consort for protocol's sake. In reality, she was banished from the monarchy's inner circle. That same day, palace security changed all digital and biometric access to the royal archives. Camilla's aides were removed from Clarence House, and she was privately escorted to her estate in rural Wiltshire, far from Windsor's inner circle. She was told she could not return to any royal residence without explicit written permission from the monarch. It was a soft exile, but no less devastating. At her estate, Camilla reportedly spent the first 2 days alone. Her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, visited briefly but avoided the press and left quietly through a side gate. Once the Queen Consort standing beside the monarch in public, she now lived behind shuttered windows and silent phones. Her former driver, speaking anonymously, said she didn't speak during the drive, just stared out the window, pale and hollow. The Queen Consort had become a ghost. That afternoon, Charles sent a private message to palace staff. No one, not even those we once loved, stands above legacy. My duty is to the crown and to the memory of those who built it. Though never made public, insiders say those words are now framed in his private study alongside portraits of Queen Elizabeth II and Princess Diana from 1982. With Camilla removed, all attention shifted to the woman quietly bearing the weight of restoration. Catherine. Because the monarchy wasn't just cleaning house, it was rebuilding its vaults, its memory, and the public's trust. Catherine was reclaiming Diana's legacy. Princess Catherine entered the royal vault beneath Windsor Castle, accompanied only by Lady Eleanor Moore, the crown's chief archivist. Together, they began the meticulous process of securing every remaining artifact connected to Princess Diana. Items like the 1981 Spencer choker, the 1985 sapphire brooch, and a handwritten letter Diana had written to William before her death. The vault's biometric system was reconfigured so that only Catherine and Charlotte's future steward would have access. As Catherine closed the final drawer, she placed a single envelope inside, delicately inscribed with the words, "For Charlotte, in strength and memory. Love, Mommy." Those words carried more than a mother's love. They were a solemn royal vow. Staff present described the moment as quiet, but profoundly impactful. It wasn't about titles or publicity. It was about safeguarding what Camilla had once tried to steal. That afternoon, Kensington Palace released 2 photographs, one showing Catherine standing in front of the vault doors, the other of Charlotte holding a framed picture of Diana. The images quickly went viral, shared tens of millions of times across social media platforms. A new hashtag emerged, #LegacySecured. Calls came from Parliament for a formal royal ceremony to officially recognize Catherine as protector of the royal archives. Public opinion polls showed overwhelming support for Catherine taking a stronger role in royal affairs, with many believing she deserved to be titled queen, not just by marriage, but by popular acclaim. To the public, the monarchy now had a renewed moral center rooted in Diana's grace, Charlotte's future, and Catherine's unwavering dignity. But while Catherine quietly secured the vault, another story was resurfacing. Camilla's dark past was coming back to light. Her transgressions didn't begin recently, and the world was about to revisit everything she hoped had been buried forever. As Camilla's betrayal dominated headlines, journalists and historians began uncovering long-hidden scandals. Old controversies, like the infamous 1993 tampon gate leaked phone call between Charles and Camilla that humiliated the monarchy and confirmed their affair during his marriage to Diana, were revisited with fresh eyes. Back then, public opinion had been split. Now exposed for theft, infidelity, and manipulation, Camilla's past was being judged harshly. Reports scrutinized her vault visits in 2017 and 2021, once dismissed as simple heritage tours. But new whistleblowers from Clarence House revealed those trips involved unrecorded removals and altered heirloom records, proof of a deeper pattern of deception. Financial analysts linked Camilla's previous vault visits to the disappearance of 2 Victorian brooches and a set of Georgian sapphire cufflinks that later surfaced anonymously at an auction in Geneva. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together. This wasn't a single mistake. It was a decades-long pattern. Even her closest allies started distancing themselves. The Royal PR Consortium, which had managed Camilla's image since she joined the royal family, quietly ended their contract. Publishers postponed the release of her anticipated memoir. Key staff at Clarence House, including her former stylist and personal assistant, requested transfers. Meanwhile, Camilla's family, Annabelle, Tom Parker Bowles, and Laura Lopes, retreated from public view amid separate financial investigations. Her inner circle collapsed like a fragile paper crown. The most symbolic blow came directly from the palace. Camilla's profile was quietly removed from the official Buckingham Palace website's Working Royals page. Archived versions still showed her smiling beside Charles in pearls, but now she was simply gone. No formal announcement, no explanation, just a silent erasure that spoke volumes. In the royal records, she no longer existed. Camilla hadn't merely fallen from grace, she had been wiped from legacy. While Camilla faded into obscurity, another woman rose quietly, not through scandal or spin, but through steady strength and unwavering loyalty. For the public, there was no question about who deserved the crown next: the people's queen. On a quiet morning, Princess Catherine and Princess Charlotte visited a children's literacy charity in Oxford. No press releases, no sparkling jewels, just two generations walking hand in hand among books, laughter, and gentle smiles. The image spoke louder than words. Within hours, it became the most shared royal photo of the year, amassing tens of millions of views. The message was clear. The monarchy was healing, and Catherine was its future. British tabloids celebrated with headlines like "The Crown is Safe Again," "Charlotte's Guardian," and "Kate the Great." Major broadcasters, including the BBC, Sky News, and CNN, aired retrospectives drawing parallels between Diana's legacy and Catherine's steady rise. The Telegraph published an op-ed calling for Catherine's official elevation in title. If the Queen Consort title could be stripped in disgrace, it could also be granted with honor. Public opinion mirrored this shift. Surveys showed overwhelming support for formally crowning Catherine when the time came. Inside the palace, change was already in motion. Though still heartbroken, Charles hadn't spoken to Camilla since her suspension. Close aides confirmed he was considering restructuring the Royal Succession Council to elevate and protect Catherine's role without interruption. Meanwhile, Princess Anne led efforts to tighten heirloom security, and Prince William prepared to take on more ceremonial duties in the near future. The crown hadn't weakened. It was being reforged, stronger and more transparent than ever. Camilla now lives alone at her private estate, erased from palace records, absent from royal ceremonies, and with her legacy defined by betrayal. Even her children's business ventures have crumbled. The monarchy, however, moves forward, renewed and resilient. Their bank accounts were frozen amid a royal audit. Their names splashed across headlines around the world. In the end, Camilla wasn't just guilty of betraying Charles. She was guilty of betraying history itself. Though the palace never released an official statement, the public had already spoken. Catherine is their queen. Queen Camilla's story didn't end with grace. It ended in scandal. Once whispered about behind closed doors, a woman who rose to the throne against all odds was now cast out, not by rumors or the public, but by the very man who defied tradition for her. King Charles, torn between love and duty, chose legacy. He chose loyalty to the crown. He chose to protect what remained of Diana's memory and preserve the sacred fabric of the monarchy. For Camilla, it wasn't just a fall from grace. It was a complete unraveling. Years of ambition, secrecy, and manipulation came crashing down within days. The photos, the missing jewels, the so-called wellness retreats, the altered vault records, all told the same story: betrayal upon betrayal. When the truth came out, not even her royal title could protect her. She wasn't just exiled from Buckingham Palace, she was erased from royal life. But amid the wreckage, something else emerged, something purer. Catherine, with quiet dignity and steady resolve, stepped into the void, not through drama or revenge, but by simply standing firm. She reclaimed Diana's legacy, secured Princess Charlotte's future, and reminded the world what the monarchy could still represent: integrity, strength, and service. The people responded, in tweets, letters, and polls. They crowned her not just in spirit, but in truth. The queen they never doubted. The queen they had waited for. Camilla now walks alone through the gardens of her private estate, far from the halls of power. Haunted by the echoes of what might have been, facing memories she can't rewrite and doors she can never reopen. History has judged her, and this time it showed no mercy. Meanwhile, the crown stands firm. Perhaps a little bruised, but stronger, leaner, and wiser. Because what Camilla forgot is this. Titles can be given, even forced. But respect, legacy, and trust, they must be earned. And once broken, they rarely heal. In the end, Camilla lost everything she tried to take. And Catherine? She never asked for the throne. She earned it by standing still while the entire palace shook. Now the world knows exactly who the real queen is.